Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I am back with another video. Today's topic, a behind the veil view of the true meaning and purpose of drugs and alcohol. What purpose do they serve? What purpose do they really serve? So if this sounds like an interesting topic to you, please stick around. Otherwise, I'll catch you at another video. All right, so let's talk about drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol, other than perhaps serving the purpose of being fun, actually, that's, the three-dimensional way of looking at it. Hey, I'm gonna go out with my girlfriends, I'm gonna have a glass of wine. Cool. Like no one even thinks twice about that, right? And when we think about our bodies as if they are vehicles, we're going to kind of like examine the purpose through the analogies that drugs and alcohol actually serve, and then we're going to look at the bigger picture of that. Okay, so going along with this topic, looking at your consciousness when it's seated in your body, we're going to go with the analogy of it being a car. Let's say you're in your car and a bird poops on your windshield, and then you turn on your windshield wipers because you want to clear the bird poop so you can see out your windshield. And there's not any windshield wiper fluid inside, so what ends up happening is it's dry, and it dry kind of like scrapes the poop back and forth. Great. So now, not only is the poop in one centralized location, it's kind of been like mishmashed all around your windshield wiper. That's going to inhibit your ability to see outside. It's going to inhibit your ability to see any potential dangers that may be coming at you. Maybe another car, maybe there's a pedestrian crossing the street with a dog. Maybe you're not even going to have the ability to see if there's somebody that wants to carjack you. Now, let's say the drugs and the alcohol are the bird poop. So it is inhibiting your ability to clearly see through your own actual eyes. It's also numbing your physical body to the potential threats or dangers that may be around you. So the analogy of that would be, a lot of cars have sensors now. Imagine if, going with this bird poop idea, the bird had also pooped on the sensors on your car, and now maybe 1 out of the 5 sensors were working. So if you're trying to, back up and park, not everything is firing in concert with one another. You don't know if there's another car behind you this way. You don't know if you're going to hit the curb. You don't know if there's a fire hydrant there. So it's really inhibiting our abilities to, first of all, be present in our own bodies. It's also inhibiting our ability to perceive and pick up on potential threats and dangers that may be around us. The more that a person is engaging in these drugs and alcohol, think of it also as if it is leaching the windshield wiper fluid out of the car. So now, not only do you got the bird poop on there and no windshield wiper fluid and you can't see outside, you have a hole in your windshield wiper fluid valve and it's leaking the water. So when you're trying to put water back into it, there's a hole. You may not know that the hole is there. You just know that it's constantly leaking. The more that somebody is going to continue to choose to engage in drugs and alcohol, it is leaking their ability long-term of clearing the obstruction off of their windshield wiper. So it can be essential to lay off. Maybe if somebody's drinking 5 days a week, maybe lay off a little bit so that you can replenish your windshield wiper fluid and you can see what's going on around you. Do drugs do the same thing? Yes, absolutely. What both of them do together is, because they are actually obstructing our view and our ability to see what's around us and to sense our surroundings, they are also making us very energetically porous. And what does it mean to be energetically porous? It means there's chinks in our energetic field because we are not fully in it. When you are not fully in the driver's seat of your car, sure, let's say you're in the passenger seat, right? Could you jump over into the driver's seat if you needed to? If suddenly you were going to get a ticket, you were in a friend's car, so you were going to get a ticket, you had to jump over and you had to move the car. Could you? Sure. Is the effect going to be as instantaneous and as empowered as if you were in the driver's seat and suddenly, I see there's a parking meter, I got to move my car. It's instant. Could you jump over? Sure. Is it instant? No. There's a delay. So when our senses are covered up to some extent, there's a delay. We're energetically porous. If you're not in the driver's side seat of your car and the locks are up, someone can jump in and take you on a ride. And that's what was shown to me in the video that I had done on Las Vegas, which was where, depending on the level of inebriation that somebody is, will determine what happens to their vehicle when it is being carjacked, right? So you can maybe you're already in the passenger side and someone's jumping into the driver's side, and now they have commandeered your vehicle and they're taking you along for a ride. And because you are incapacitated on some level, you cannot take it over that easily. Can you? Sure. But not as easily as if you had been in the driver's seat with the locks up, with a full tank of gas, with no bird poop on the windshield wiper. It's not as instantaneous. All right, now let's say you're even more inebriated. You can be thrown into the back seat of your car. Now you're really being taken on a ride. And let's say you're so inebriated that you can get taken energetically, thrown into the trunk of your car, and now you don't even know what's going on. You're there, but you can't see at all. You can probably hear things. Maybe you're getting like some sort of a sense. Maybe you're hearing loud music. You have no idea what's going on to your car while you're in the trunk. So what is the purpose of all of this? What's the actual meaning? Why are drugs and alcohol, even prescription drugs, because that stuff is going to have an impact on your energetic body as well. Why is all of this stuff available to us then? Here's another question as well. I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if I have to speak in like code. Like maybe Morse code. I don't know how to do Morse code, but that would probably be very beneficial right now. But let's just take the last 2 years or so, when people were at home more often, told to be at home more often for their own safety and protection, and that alcohol shops were open. I wonder why that would be. Let's unpack that. So, if you guys are familiar with my station, we talk about the astral plane. We're going to talk a little bit more about the astral plane right now. What's the astral plane? Why do we care about the astral plane? Well, simply because there is one. And there are both malevolent and benevolent beings on the astral plane. The big difference is that well-intentioned and well-meaning beings that are on the astral plane do not want to usurp our power, do not want to usurp our control, and they are a little bit more kind of like hang back and give us the free will that we have here on the earth plane. But the same cannot be said for the darker entities on the astral plane, because they look at Earth as if this is their playground. And a good video to go back in addition to the Las Vegas one would be my video on New York. I have 2 videos on New York. It's the second video on New York. Because the beings on the astral plane are living, if you will, off of the energy of the actual human beings that are on Earth. And because they are not of the light, they live off of chaos and fear and destruction. And if we are in a vehicle that has the bird poop and the sensors are not working, and maybe the person's even, I don't know, napping, how easy would it be for an entity to get in? Now they have a body. And when these entities get into a body, they're not going to church. They are engaging in the mayhem, the destruction, and not necessarily a physical destruction, because then they don't have the body, right? So it's not like they're going to go get in the car and drive into a lake. No, they want to have the body so that they can play with it, right? They're getting onto the swing. They're not getting on the swing so they can break the swing and they can't swing anymore. They're getting on the swing so they can swing. They want to have fun when they're in the body. So these entities don't want to see their playground destroyed, because then they don't have nowhere that they can go to have their fun. So by keeping these alcohol stores open at a time when people were perhaps home more, maybe doing more self-reflecting, maybe they're doing more introspection, maybe their vibration and their energy is starting to rise because they're spending more time by themselves. And they're not spending as much time when they're out and about and exposed to other people, where their energy can be influenced by other people, right? So they're already in a place where they can be energetically ascending. But now you're keeping alcohol stores open. So it's keeping people in a state of energetic porousness, so that way these entities from the astral plane can come into the body. Which is also why, if you look at it, there's been, over the last 2 years, the number of domestic violence cases has gone up. The number of suicides has gone up. Not because these beings are encouraging the person to commit suicide, right? But it could be that they're constantly being, like Grand Central Station, entities are walking in and out of them, and they're so energetically depleted and dysregulated, they don't even know who they are anymore. They can't ground themselves, so they just take themselves out of the earth plane. But the way you can look at it is the entities, by keeping these alcohol stores open, was their way of getting the necessary number of signatures, if you will, that they could now go and prevent this demolition of the playground. They can now keep it off of the ballot. It's a great example, because I'm actually in California right now, and we have actually had something very similar happen just, I think, this past week, which was that our district attorney, his name is Garcon, I think. You guys know I don't do my research. I hope you know by now I don't do my research. It doesn't mean that I don't know. It just means that I don't want to know to the extent where I can't receive information, right? But so we have Garcon, and people wanted to recall him. They needed to get the necessary number of not just signatures, but they had to authenticate the signatures to see if they had enough to recall him. And they did not get the number of necessary authenticated signatures to recall him, right? So look at it the same way. These entities on the astral plane want to keep a playground. Maybe there's some other people who don't want to keep a playground because they're like, oh, we've been noticing that drug dealers are ascending on the playground, and we don't feel like our kids are safe in this playground anymore. We want to close the playground. So what these darker entities on the astral plane did was they went out and they got the necessary number of signatures that they needed to keep the playground open. That is exactly what happened with the reason that these alcohol stores were left open. That was their way of getting the necessary signatures to keep it open. And now let's say, ooh, even better, hey, this was just now in the newspaper. And now people who maybe didn't know about the playground know about it. And now you have new drug dealers are ascending onto the playground. Ooh. Here's the question though. Aside from the energetic beings on the astral plane being invested in keeping the playground open, right? Keeping us energetically porous so that they can access our body and they can have fun with our bodies. Why? Let's take an even deeper veil look of what the purpose of all of that is. We are now energetically at a huge crossroads where people are waking up in record-breaking numbers, I think, because I see it, I see it everywhere. And the energy of the earth is also changing. And the reason that it's changing is because the vibration is changing. Because people are waking up and they're understanding who they really are, what their true purpose is. They're understanding that we are divine, we are of the light. We didn't just come here to pay bills and die. We have a true purpose and a true meaning in being here. And people are waking up to that. And when we wake up to that, the energy and the vibration of Earth is starting to ascend and it is starting to change. And as that begins to change, these beings on the astral plane are being displaced because they no longer have enough bodies to get into, to have fun with. So it's kind of been referred to as like a spiritual war that we're going through right now. And it is. It's a very accurate way of looking at it. It is a spiritual war between the light and how Earth is ascending, and the darker beings and the darker entities that want to keep us enslaved energetically and keep us trapped so that they can access our body, A. B, they can observe the destruction and the mayhem that is caused, and they are feeding off of it. It's loosh. It's literally their energy. It's how they survive. It's how they sustain themselves. It's their food. It is a parasitic relationship between the dark entities on the astral plane and us here. And if we don't know about it, and we are keeping ourselves energetically in a low vibration, and we are keeping ourselves attached to specific things such as drugs and alcohol that are keeping us porous and allowing them in, we can be slowing down our ascension. It can't be completely derailed. And here's an example that I've used before. If you're playing hide and seek with a child and they say, ready or not, here I come. Ready or not, we're ascending. But they can try to slow it down as much as they can, giving them extra time to be here. But it's kind of hard to be alive in this day and time and not be socially aware of what's going on. And not to say, I've had conversations with people that I've never had before where people are like, what is going on in the world? It just feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket. That is not accidental. That is by design. And or it is done by the darker beings on the astral plane as they are being displaced. They are in a frenzy because there are less and less low vibration bodies that they can access. So think of it, there's a scene in Ghost where the Whoopi Goldberg character, one of the beings that are in the room come into her body. And then the being in the body is talking to its loved one that's still alive, right? But imagine it's something like that, except where because these entities are being displaced and they're looking, it's like musical chairs with bodies. They're looking for bodies to get into. So there's almost like this battle of these entities that are getting into bodies. They might get in and throw another entity out, and then that entity might try to come back in. So you might see people that you know acting a little kind of off kilter. Could it possibly be because there is something that you cannot see energetically going on where entities are fighting to get into their body, fighting to get in, throwing an entity out, the entity gets back in, throws the other one out. It's going to cause energetic chaos. It's going to cause people to act and engage and be different than how you would normally know them to be. But simultaneously, while that is happening and there's all of this energetic chaos going on in the world, there is also this ready or not, here it comes ascension, where we are in huge numbers, vibrationally waking up, vibrationally taking energetic ownership of our lives, saying, I do not consent to being a vessel for these dark entities. I do not consent to being a slave and having my life force energy drained from me, either by my fear, which is louche and they are living off of it, or by my compliance in this system that has enslaved me, or by engaging in illicit drugs and alcohol that are leaving me energetically porous for them to get into it. I do not consent anymore. So this is a war between the good and the dark, the light and the dark. I don't want to say evil. I don't like evil because it doesn't encompass what energetically is going on. To say evil, it's like saying someone's crazy. Yes, but why? What does that really mean? Right? So I don't typically use like labelist kind of words like evil, right? It's a war between the light and the dark. It's a war between those entities that want to give us our full autonomy, not just the autonomy that we had before and we think is true autonomy, but true actual autonomy. And the beings that want to keep us in a low vibration and want to keep us enslaved because we are their playground. That is the purpose of drugs and alcohol. It is the consent to the entities treating us like their personal playground, treating us like we are their personal food source. It is consenting to a parasitic relationship with dark beings that we cannot see. So this is an invitation, perhaps, to, first of all, see if this information resonates with you. If it doesn't, take what does and leave the rest behind. But if this does resonate with you, what does that mean? What does that look like? I cannot answer that. I know what it looked like for me when I woke up. And I know that without even understanding the reason for it, I understood that suddenly I didn't want to drink wine anymore. And I didn't know why. It first started off in feeling like I wasn't called to it anymore. I don't know. I just don't enjoy the taste anymore. I don't want to drink it. And then understanding that when I was with my friends and I was drinking alcohol, was I really connecting to them? How much could I connect to them if the windshield of my car was covered in poop? And wanting to genuinely and deeply connect to them. And seeing the alcohol not as a means to do that, but as something that was going to inhibit it. And then through this entire process of waking up, understanding my divine nature, understanding why I'm here, dismantling the veil that I had, go back and watch maybe my video behind the veil, but dismantling my own personal veil so that I could start to see beyond all of the veils that are in place. One of the first steps of that was leaving alcohol behind so that I could fully be in my body. I could fully see out of my windshield. I could fully pick up on the sensors of what my car was telling me if I was backing up. Was I too close to another car? Can I not change lanes because there's a car in my blind spot? That was one of the first steps. And then the second step was getting myself off of synthetic medication, because synthetic medication does pretty much the same thing on a different level. It numbs us to ourself. And the way that it numbs us to ourself is by turning off the symptoms that our body is communicating to us that something is wrong. So it's basically like taking a sledgehammer to the sensors on your car that let you know if there's something in your blind spot, don't change lanes, and letting you know, hey, you can't back up, you're too close to the car behind you. It's like taking a hammer to those sensors and shattering them. It is disconnecting us from our own internal warning and guidance system. So the first step was to stop drinking wine. The second step was to get off of synthetic medication and to honestly evaluate what my body was telling me so that I could not shut it up. Oh, it's so annoying. Shut up. I always have a headache. Just shut up, headache. I don't want to hear from you again. But inviting me to understand what, let's say, for example, if I had headaches, why am I always having headaches? And treating it and healing myself, because the act of healing ourselves also raises our vibration. Because guys, ready or not, we're ascending. It is inevitable. But our consent, our giving our signature to keep the playground open, can only slow our ascension. It cannot stop it. But guys, come on over. There's lots of room in the new playground that I discovered over here. There's no drug dealers there. This new playground is epic. It's awesome. It's awesome. And all the other people that are at this playground are so cool and so real and so genuine. And when we talk to them, we're not like covering our eyes or not making eye contact. We're all there. We're fully there. And it's beautiful. And I invite you to come on over. So as always, I hope that this video has perhaps given you something to think about that you didn't think about before, or given you new information that's helpful to where you are right now. And if it doesn't resonate, leave it behind, guys. As always, until next time, stay in the high vibration.